Hi everyone, and welcome back to the fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel with me, Tom Campbell, for another Meet the Elite team reveal. I'm delighted to say we've got Dan Bennett joining us again on the show. I'm super excited to see how he's been getting on. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel with me, Tom Campbell. You can find me on Twitter at UtterlyTC, but enough of me, let's get to the star of the show. Dan, we've had a few weeks since we've last spoken. Welcome back to the channel, mate. How has the season been progressing?
Hey Tom, thank you. Yes, it's been good. Double game week season is here, isn't it? Triple captain's been played.
Oh gosh. Okay, well, let's get straight into that then, Dan. So probably not a big stretch for me to say, was the triple captain on a certain Erling Haaland last week?
It was. I'm slightly disappointed. 8 points is not fantastic, but
no,
especially when he went and banged in a hat-trick today against Wolves. Could have done with that against Spurs. It was a bit of a double whammy because I bought in KDB last week and he didn't play the second part of the double against Spurs. And I think if he had, Haaland might have had even more chances to...
It was a tough one, wasn't it, Dan? I mean, so you've used that triple captainship. Obviously, a lot of the viewers will have done too. Do you think it's a season-defining thing? What's your advice to people watching in terms of people who've now used that chip on that double game week? Obviously, 8 points received. How would you kind of reflect on how he did and the other people who've still got it in hand?
I've had worse scores than 8 in the past.
Yeah,
that's the first thing to say. So yeah, but I mean it's done. It's only one extra player's score. I think a lot of people might play it this coming game week on Rashford.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a double game week too. But say he gets 20 points. It's only 12 points we've lost.
That's it.
For going triple captain Haaland. So and it's out of the way now. We can focus on the free hit and the bench boost.
Yeah, and I think people forget that you'll be captaining the guy who everyone's triple captaining, right? So it's not that. It's if you were to look elsewhere and they go off, then it's a different case. But look, we're recording Sunday night, guys. So the Arsenal-Man United game has literally just finished. So game week 21 is still yet to be completed. That story's not yet quite been told. So live ranks are a little bit off. But Dan, you're doing pretty well. Still ranked around the sort of 200 to 250 sort of K overall rank. In terms of how you want to be and how you're set for the rest of the season, and for people who are kind of around that rank as well who are watching, how do you think that is? How would you sum up your season so far?
I think it's a good rank to be at. We're just over halfway through the season, but it's the key part of the season coming up: double game weeks, blank game weeks, bench boost, another wild card to play. So I think this is probably usually where I'd be at this point of the season, maybe a little further ahead.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful of cracking the top 100k soon.
Yeah.
Pushing up there.
That's nice to know for folks who are similarly ranked or maybe a little bit below as well, people watching on. In terms of, you and I were talking off camera, weren't we, about the template and things being a little bit set at the moment. Is that how you see this season? And is that kind of typical for this time of the season? And should people just, trust that actually there is going to be a chance to differentiate further down the stretch?
Yeah, there'll definitely be chances. I think the template's even stronger than it usually is. It's usually one of my edges, just going for the template, and it's usually the best performing team players. But yeah, a lot of people, more and more people are engaged in fantasy these days. So it is harder to find an edge, but there's lots of opportunities to come. This game week coming, there's lots of routes I could take with 2 free transfers. I think a lot of people will go in multiple directions this week.
Yeah, they will. I mean, you and I mentioned again off camera about the amount of information, guys, that's going to come to light prior to game week 22 starting. So obviously next weekend, or this weekend coming, is going to be the FA Cup. So there's not going to be any Premier League games for a fair while. But we thought we'd do the video anyway to get your thoughts on how things are shaping up in your mind at this early stage, Dan. And I'm sure people will already be tempted to use those transfers, weren't they? Is your advice to hold then and hold off?
Hold off. There's lots of flat transfers flying around already. People set with likes of Cancelo and Foden. I can understand it, but if you can just suck up those price drops for more information, I assure you it'll pay off in the long run.
Well, there you go, guys. That's the advice of an elite manager. It's consistent with Craig last week. We've had the same from Corey, from Mark, so it does seem to be a common theme. And looking at your value in the bank, Mark, you've already got 2.5 million there. I've had a chance to look at your squad, which people can do on the follow the elite managers section on fantasyfootballfix.com as well. So money doesn't seem to be quite that much of a challenge this season. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had Andreas all season. He's done well. There's other players which we'll come on to later.
Yeah.
Like Mateo, so cheap. The Arsenal guys are cheap.
Yeah.
Rashford,
right? Yeah.
Unbelievable season he's having. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned him for captaincy options as well, didn't you? So, and he was massively lowly priced, wasn't he, at the beginning of the season, off the back of 2 pretty crap seasons. So you can kind of understand it, can't you? Look, Dan, let's take a look at this team. Obviously, game week 21 still going on, guys, as we're recording this. But let's take a look at the team and see how it's performing so far. So, Dan, I've decided not to cover the team so far because I think it will be pretty consistent with what people are expecting. But I do have questions for you. So, you decided to bench Luke Shaw for this game and start Ben White. Obviously, hindsight 2020. Ben White hooked at half-time, had a pretty difficult game there, and it didn't come off for him. But what was the thought process there? Did you fancy Arsenal for the clean sheet?
I didn't know. I expected both teams to score, and they did. In fact, both players ended up with 0 points. Yellow cards for both. Mm-hmm. But so it didn't really matter at the end.
No.
But I was never going to play Bueno
no.
against Man City. So yeah, I just fancied the home team. Arsenal obviously doing great this season. Yeah, him being hooked at half-time is concerning because I would like him to play both games in Arsenal have got a double game week coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to watch that one closely. But
you think he's going to be a popular owned player, Dan, Ben White. Obviously, he was up against Marcus Rashford playing at right back, wasn't he? He was already on a yellow card, wasn't he, at half time? So you think anything to worry about there, or think it's just a hold firm and nothing to panic about?
I'm not panicking right now.
No.
But we'll see how it goes. But I think he'll come straight back in next game.
Yeah. I think that's a safe bet. And look, let's look one step behind. You've got Kepa there. He's been a bit of a marvel, hasn't he? With Mendy's injury, keeping him out of contention, and another haul, I guess you could say, at Anfield. Bit of a star of the show, right? A star of the season.
Yeah, I got quite fortunate actually. Mm-hmm. I took an 8-point hit.
Last
game week.
Okay.
To bring in Botman, Kane, and KDB.
Yeah.
And I was tempted by another hit to go from Kepa to Ederson.
Wow.
So Ederson had the double game week.
Mm-hmm.
But I talked to a few people and they swayed me away from it. So, I got quite lucky there. So he's done well.
He has done well, hasn't he? And do you think there's signs of Potter starting to get a bit of solidarity there defensively, particularly at Chelsea? Or do you think there's still a bit of a question mark as the Chelsea defensive options for the viewers?
I think he'll turn it around. They're obviously spending a bit of money in January, but I think the players will get behind Potter. I know in the past it's been a bit of a curse being the Chelsea manager.
Yeah.
The players will get on the wrong side, but I think Potter will turn it around, and they've still got Reece James and Chilwell to come back.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal players, so I'm sure they'll improve the team as well.
Interesting. Look, just so that guys are aware, Dan, you and I, for prep for this video, we've talked about, I asked you to give suggestions for 3 players that you're excited about looking further down the line, game week 22 and beyond. And we'll come on to those 3, bit of a stats feature on them in a moment, guys. So stay tuned for that, and we will look at those players in a moment. But, I mean, I'm envious here, Dan. You've got Kieran Trippier. I'm suspecting that most of the viewers do too, if not all of them. I think I read today that fantasyfootballfix.com was saying that his ownership is more than 99% in the top 100k. So as much as I'd love talking about Kieran Trippier and his return of insane bonus points and returns pretty much since the beginning of the season, I think it would be pretty redundant. But you've doubled up on that defensive line for Newcastle. Craig was right on that as well last season. It seems to be advice from the elite managers. Is that the advice you'd have for the viewers? Do you think even a treble up would be something to look at?
Yeah, I'm really happy with Botman. I think he's my lowest owned, my most differential player. So yeah, to see him do well the last couple of weeks since I bought him has been good. I think 6 clean sheets in a row. I think for Newcastle.
Mad.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not averse to a triple up in defence. I know some managers run it from the start of the season. Pope's been doing well in goal. I did have Pope at the start of the season.
Same.
But yeah, so it's Almiron's a tricky one because Almiron's had 4 blanks now.
Yeah.
So I could free up a midfield spot, a Newcastle spot to go Pope, but there's blank game weeks to consider.
Yeah.
Which I think we'll touch on.
Yeah, we will. It's an interesting one. It's a seamless transition, Dan, with Almiron there. You've got the 2 free transfers. Obviously, the advice being to hold until we've got more information. But are you thinking that it's now, thanks for your time, Miggy, and he's one of the ones you're looking to move on as part of the Game Week 22 transfer plans?
I think it's likely he'll leave this week.
Yeah.
I had penciled in Almiron to Ødegaard.
Yeah.
But Arsenal's double's not till 23. So there might be someone might bring in for 22 to triple up on Manchester United.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the current fixtures on screen at the moment, but they do have that West Ham game, and I'm a West Ham fan. I'm loath to transfer out an attacker who are playing West Ham in their next game. That's years of experience and bitter goals going against me in the past. So I don't know. I think Almiron leaving is going to be a big popular transfer, though, right? There's so many options. Who's leaping out at you, Dan, in terms of the midfield options? And we'll go on to a deep dive in a moment, but who are the ones that are really leaping out to you in that price bracket?
Yeah, so there's Matoma, who scored again this week.
Yeah.
Fantastic value.
Yeah.
Ødegaard, as we mentioned, he just keeps ticking along with the points. A late assist in the game just now. Ideally, I'd like to go up to someone like Bruno Fernandes, but that'll be tricky. But I've got options to do that.
Well, let's talk about Bruno quickly. Fernandes is seemingly again doing so much better once Ronaldo's not part of the team. He was incredible before, and maybe some people have forgotten that. But points keep coming, don't they, for Bruno Fernandes and Man United with this double? You think he's a viable player to target for the short term? And if so, do you think he's a threaten the captaincy option if you do take a punt on him?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, he just tends to get points.
He does.
He's in one of these spells where he gets points. Like the season he first moved here, he just gets points. I'm not sure who's on penalties. I think, did Rashford take the last one?
It's an interesting one with penalties, because you do wonder if Tony Martial is back in the team, whether or not he'd muddy that water still further. But Fernandes would be in the conversation, I'm sure, so it could be another avenue. But it's quite difficult. It would be a reshaping of the team, right, to get Fernandes in terms of that price bracket of 10 million being shoehorned into the midfield, right? You'd potentially have to move on Kane, or could you use your slush fund to manage it?
Yeah, well, I've looked at it. I possibly Mitrovic might be the make way. I mean, talking about penalties, he can't seem to score a penalty.
No,
but hopefully he's still on them. But because there's a couple of budget forwards doing well. Ferguson at Brighton, I think he's at just 4.6 million.
Brilliant header, just scored, right? Yeah.
Yes, and is it Notto at Leeds?
Yeah, another good option. Yeah,
he's 5 million, and of course Leeds have got a double game week.
Okay.
Against one of the games being against Manchester United, so Almiron to Fernandes and Mitrovic to Notto has crossed my mind. And
would you start so how would the team shape up then, down those players? Would you go to 2 up front, or still try and stick with the three strikers?
I think I'd certainly play him for the not for the double game.
For the double, sure. Yeah.
But I have got 4 defenders, so I could go 4-4-2.
Yeah, definitely.
White, Shaw, and the 2 Newcastle defenders.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an option. I need to assess the fixtures a little bit more.
Yeah, and look, I mean, looking at the rest of the midfield there, Martinelli's an interesting player, right? It's the first part of the season was in everyone's team, people accruing loads of value in him, who's returning consistently. Arsenal are this behemoth, best team in the country in terms of the league table and what have you. How are you feeling about him?
Yeah, I think he dropped in price last night. I haven't been paying. I usually pay close attention to the price changes,
Yeah.
but as we say, we've got lots of information to come, so I've not been checking. But he did drop in price last night because I got him from the start of the season when he was 6 million. It just dropped from 6.8 to 6.7.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's not. He's got a lot of threat now, hasn't he? I think he got subbed today for Trossard.
Trossard just signed, yeah, and he'll be playing on the left-hand side, yeah.
Yeah, and they got Smith Rowe who can play there, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And his returns, right? I mean, in terms of his actual output, you as an experienced elite manager, do you think it's just? I mean, it's hard, isn't it, to recommend removing an asset from the team who's top of the Premier League, leaving you with just one Arsenal option? Would you look for him to? Basically, what I'm asking is, would you advocate for a potential sideways to an Ødegaard?
I mean, yeah, it would have paid off nicely a few weeks ago, but I don't think I can do it. Martinelli has blanked the last 3, but I think I'm going to hold until Arsenal's double game week in 23, and then possibly look to move him on.
Okay.
If he's still not returning.
So hold fire for another couple of game weeks. I mean, Craig last week was saying that he would have happily done the sideways of Martinelli to Ødegaard. So it's quite interesting to hear your view being slightly contrary to that. Just strategically for a second, Dan, that type of sideways move, how do you feel about those in macro speak? Is that something that you'd always advise against, or is it something you can actually say it's all situational and it's something managers should be happy and comfortable to do?
Yeah. In the past, I've probably avoided those types of moves, and I think I found better value elsewhere. But sometimes, it takes a good manager like Craig to know this is the right time. Let's get it done. The other players performing better. But yeah, I'll think about it more.
Okay. And Man City wise, you've got the KDB Haaland double up offensively there. Talked about potential Ederson inclusion as part of previous thoughts. Any thoughts to try and treble up, or you just you've got the 2 best and everyone else is a risk, and you're completely comfortable with only owning those 2?
Yeah, I was tempted by the Man City defender last week, but I would probably have gone for Ake. Obviously, he got benched today. But it seems Stones is back fit now, so if people do want to go for a Man City defender, I think I would go Stones now.
Yeah. Okay.
Or Ederson, like you say.
Yeah. I mean, Ederson's obviously the price differential between the likes of Kepa that you just already outlined as well. I suspect people might even be tempted with De Gea as well in relation to the double game. We've not mentioned him as well. I mean, could you justify the outlay on Ederson at, sort of $1 million, 6 million total around that spend for a goalkeeper? Is that still something you could go for?
I think you can. A lot of managers have. I think a lot of managers who follow models quite a lot. They've gone the double up of Ederson and Kepa. Mm-hmm. They've got quite unlucky the last couple of weeks where they played Ederson instead of and missed on Kepa's haul.
That's brutal.
But, they think the value is there in the goalkeeper Ederson.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of looking at the squad here, so I got the sense that Miggy Almiron might be on the chopping block. Martinelli, I'm not getting massively positive vibes from you, but it seems like he's got a stay of execution. So it leaves Mr. Mitrovic up front. Obviously, he's not yet played in Game Week 21, so it feels a bit unfair to write him off completely. What's your observations of Mitrovic as an FPL asset for Game Week 22 and ongoing?
Yeah, he's been an entertaining, shall we say, asset to own the last few weeks. Of course, captained him in the double game week a few weeks ago. Yeah, going forward, I'm quite happy with him, really. Talisman, penalties, hopefully still. Fulham are doing well.
Yeah, they are.
Still, aren't they? With Andreas has been doing well. I don't think I'll get rid of Andreas. He's a good bench option.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm happy to hold Mitrovic, but I'm also not averse to moving him on if it means funding an ideal double game week option.
Okay, and it helps you having that 2.5 million in the bank, doesn't it? Down with 2 free transfers, there's a lot of flexibility there for sure. Harry Kane, obviously the Fulham game upcoming tomorrow night when we're recording Sunday night. So when this goes live, it will be on the Monday night. Great fixtures upcoming as well, as Craig alluded to last week. your feelings on Harry Kane and Tottenham as a collective? Do you think it's just him and nobody else, and you trust his incredible season that he's having, and just trust that will continue?
Yeah, I feel good finally having Kane in my team. I no plans to move him on anytime soon. Always finds a way to score fantasy points.
So you're happy having that sunk money into him, and it's fine.
I am, yeah, because what is it? Yeah, three premium, of course, with KDB, Kane, and Haaland. Something some people went for at the start of the season, but as the season gone on, more and more budget options have emerged. We're not going for the likes of Trent in defence. So yeah, we've got the money to do it. So I'm quite happy with the structure.
Yeah. Captaincy wise, Dan, game week 22. Obviously, we'll come on and look at those 3 players we've already mentioned, but I know it's a long way in advance. We've got another game in game week 21 to complete, loads of other information to gather and what have you. Your early thoughts on captaincy for game week 22?
Yeah, my bus team's got Rashford captain with Shaw vice captain. It's my only other double game week. So yeah, I like the double game weeks. If a player's got a double game week, even though it's Haaland. Although who's Haaland got next week?
Oh, you're testing me.
It's escaped.
Who have they got? They are away at Tottenham.
Yes, of course. So definitely Rashford for me.
Yeah.
I mean, Haaland could still.
He could.
Spurs,
but... Yeah. Makes sense though. So you've got the 2 Man United players there already. 2 transfers as well. You've talked about Bruno Fernandes potentially being the third. Anyone else from their team that you think actually managers would be sensible to look at? Anyone that's leapt out at you statistically or from an eye test?
I would have said Martial, but he's not fit, unfortunately, isn't he? I had him earlier in the season. There's not too many others I'd look at. I know some people have gone Anthony, maybe Eriksen. I think if it wasn't Bruno, I think the other option I'd go for, it might be De Gea, as you suggested.
He was where I was leaning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
Yeah, okay.
Lots to say.
Yeah, cool. All right, lots and lots to come, though, in terms of the information. You're obviously set up well. You've got the 2 free transfers. And, guys, I know this is going out super early, but we wanted to get some initial thoughts from Dan after the weekend's exploits. But let's take a little look at these 3 players who are on your radar, Dan. So we've already identified them, but we've pulled out some statistics. So let's take a look at these 3. So you've already mentioned these, Dan, but you've called out, and I think Ødegaard is somebody who's going to be in a lot of people's teams already. It's been sort of slow burn and really came to the boil recently. But Matoma from a very impressive Brighton team, and then Rodrigo from Spurs are the guys you've called out there. We've included, folks, some fixture details there. Obviously, some details may change as more information comes to light, but talk to me about these 3 guys then, Dan. What's been leaping out about to you, and how on earth are you going to shoehorn them into your team?
Yeah, there's a case to have all of them, but it's just not enough midfield spots. So some people are on 5 in midfield. So they don't have the budget, Andreas. And that is a good option to try and fit even more of these.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, so rejig and have 5 in midfield as a default.
Yeah, I guess Notto, we spoke about Notto up front. He could sort of be the budget forward, the budget 8th attacker then. But Ødegaard is probably the one we all want if we haven't got him, because there's argument to say he's player of the season so far. Captain the Arsenal side, who are I'm not sure how many points clear they are now, but they're doing extremely well.
They are.
If they're going to win the Premier League, it might be this season, because I'm sure all the teams will strengthen next season. So Ødegaard, I'd love to get him in, and I think I will for double game week 23.
Sure.
Mitoma,
but no plans prior to that. You think you're gonna miss out on him in 22? Makes sense with the double for Man United, and what are they, away at Everton, right? Yeah, away at Everton.
So he could do well, but I've always spoke about my love for double game weeks.
But that's the exciting part, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I think the upside is there in double game weeks.
I mean, just looking at these stats on screen, Dan, the expected FPL points per game, so this is a metric that FantasyFootballFix.com provides. So even with his great output, we're actually saying that the algorithm and the machine is supportive of that, right? Considerably over 5 points per game in this little game week period of 18 through 20. So it's no surprise that he's drawing the eye, right? That's a phenomenal return for under 7 million.
Yeah, I think he went up. We spoke about Martinelli going down in price. I think Ødegaard went up in price yesterday.
Okay, yeah. So it's around that 7 million mark. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm just going to hold off. I think, as you spoke, there's enough budget to go around with these budget gems, so I'll wait a little bit longer.
To hold off on Ødegaard. What about Mitoma then? 5 million or around that price. Prices obviously with the recording and people using those transfers freely, they might be slightly off, but around 5 million. What a prospect, right? In terms of how he's hit the ground for this super exciting, fun Brighton team.
Yeah, they've done well after losing Potter. They've not missed a step.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get to watch much football, but from what I've seen, he's such an exciting player.
Yeah.
Yeah, having players like that in your fantasy team is fun.
Definitely.
And such a price. Yeah. I think I'd probably just bring him in as part of a make weight for a double game week play, because I don't think Brighton got any doubles coming up.
No.
There was a chance, but nothing's been announced yet.
No. And looking at their fixtures, so obviously they just had the away match at Leicester, and then the next three, certainly with the Bournemouth home game, Crystal Palace away, Fulham at home, and Newcastle away, super tough with the amount of clean sheets that they've had, but nice run as well, right?
Yeah, that Bournemouth game, it could be good. I live just next door to Bournemouth. So,
okay.
Yeah, they like to concede a lot of chances.
Okay.
So yeah, he could do well. If people want to bring him in, I wouldn't advocate against him.
And with Trossard having left as well, that kind of left-hand side looks free, doesn't it? I got to be honest, Dan, when I asked you about these players and you identified Rodrigo, it wasn't a name I was expecting. So what have I been missing? What have you picked up on that I've been missing?
Well, there's a couple of things. He has got 10 goals so far this season.
It's great.
Which is not too shabby for a Leeds forward.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, Bamford's, I think he's fit. I think he got some done to last play. But yeah, Rodrigo seems to be the main man. And of course, they got a double game week.
Yeah.
This week coming. So yeah, I have looked at bringing him in.
Yeah.
As well.
It would be a lovely differential. It was not a name I was expecting, and I don't imagine many of the viewers would have been either. Okay. So look, I mean, if you were going to use two transfers, let's say no hit, Dan, you bringing in two of these three, or one of these three, and if it's one, which one?
I think it's going to have to be Rodrigo, just because of that double.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ødegaard can wait till 23.
To 23.
Maybe even Rodrigo straight back out to Ødegaard.
And Mitoma, you just you trust your Bournemouth neighbours to shut them out.
Yeah, I'm just not sure I can go for him when all these doubles flying around. But if people want to go for him, he could punish us. He punishes this week. People that went early on him have already reaped the rewards.
They've been rewarded, haven't they? Definitely. I mean, look, we were chatting, weren't we, about the amount of intel that's going to come up before Game Week 22 is sort of begins. Do you want to just talk to us about that? I mean, for example, we're going to know the Carabao Cup final and who'll likely blank in Game Week 25. So there's just a lot of information still to be gathered, isn't there, before we see Premier League football again?
Yeah, we can sort of take a step back from FPL a little bit, but we need to keep our finger on the pulse because of as you say, all this information.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we will know the Game Week 25 blanks.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a slight chance of.
I think it's all likely blank. Yeah.
But it's a very likely blank. Yeah. So if Manchester United and Newcastle both make the EFL Cup final, which they're expected to do. Yeah, then Man United versus Brentford will be postponed, and Newcastle Brighton will be postponed. Which is
big, so right? In terms of the number of players that we've all got and you've been advocating for. That's big news, right?
Yeah. So I've got three Newcastle players currently, 2 Manchester United. So we probably will go use our benches. Might not be able to have a dead 15th spot anymore.
Use our benches or use our free hit chip, or are you thinking that's way too premature and unnecessary?
Yeah, I certainly won't be using it in this in game week 25. But in the past, I have tended to use the free hit chip in a big blank game week. I think 28 could be a big blank game week.
Okay.
But I know other managers have used it successfully in double game weeks.
Yeah.
So you can load your teams up with 15 players playing twice.
Sure.
The upside is there.
There is, yeah. That's a good point too as well, actually, because the FA Cup 5th round draw and the probable blanks for game week 28 will have also taken place before game week 22 as well. So, you know, stick tuned or stay tuned, guys, to fantasyfootballfix.com and to our YouTube channel, because we'll keep you informed of that information as soon as it comes to light, and we've got some clarity as well. The Man United Leeds game in game week 22, Dan, is that definitely going ahead? I think it's all but confirmed. Is that right?
You're right to bring that up. Actually, I've been talking about it like it's confirmed, but it's not. So yeah, both Manchester United and Leeds United need to avoid replays in their FA Cup 4th round matches, I believe.
Yeah.
And if they do, then the double game week will slot in.
Exactly. So we just need to be mindful of that before we start bringing in United and Leeds players and triple captaincy chip usage, etc. Yeah?
That's why we're waiting. You're right.
Yeah. And of course, there's the reality of real life football. Like, there are transfers being made all the time, and game week 22 will start after that deadline's closed, guys. So there could still be some moves, couldn't there, in terms of actual players moving between clubs and 2 clubs in the Premier League, which might alter our thinking as well.
Could do, yeah. Wouldn't be surprised to see Chelsea bring another player in.
Who knows, right? They seem to be buying a lot of players, don't they? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm fascinated by those picks, particularly that Rodrigo one's really interesting, Dan. But I think your team's set up well. It seems to me that you've obviously got the 2 free transfers, and from what you've said, it's hold fire for now for transfers.
Yeah, I'll be holding fire, but yeah, there's lots of options I could go down. There's one option I haven't spoke about is in selling KDB this week.
Ooh, go on.
Because as you said, City have got Spurs away, so you could maybe hope Conte can shut City out. So it's KDB onto someone like Fernandes, and then maybe Fernandes straight back to KDB.
Okay, so let's play with that a moment. So if you were to lose Kevin De Bruyne for this game, bring in let's say the Man United Leeds game's confirmed, you bring in Bruno Fernandes for that frees up, what would that be, 2 million or so at a ballpark? You've already got 2.5. Would you be looking to use that other 4.5 million elsewhere to complete that double game week planning? Is Rodrigo part of those plans?
Yeah, that's another option I've looked at. KDB to Fernandes and Almiron to Rodrigo. I'd still have, as you say, 4 million plus in the bank.
Yeah.
To maybe reverse one of those moves the following week. Yeah, lots of money and lots of options.
Yeah, and then you'd be looking for an absolute goal fest in the Man United Leeds game, then, right?
Yeah, you're right.
As long as Luke Shaw's.
Yeah. Maybe I'll need to reconsider this Rodrigo pick, but.
Oh, I like it. I don't want to talk you down off the ledge. I think it's fun. I think it's cool that you've identified someone. 10 goals as well.
Just looking at the fixtures, yeah, it's the other game is against Forest.
That's right.
So maybe that could be the big one for Leeds.
Yeah, that's right. Look, Dan, it's always fascinating to see how you're getting on. Right around that sort of 200k and change mark, you're set well. Lots of chips still to use. 2 transfers ready in the pocket as well. Let's just flick back just quickly, guys, to this team to give you guys a visual as well, to give final thoughts from Dan on how this team's set up. Let's say bus team, obviously this is how it is right now. How are you expecting to roll into game week 22 with what we know now and nothing else? How are you expecting to roll into game week 22?
It's tough to say with all that, as you say, with lots of information to become. But yeah. I think I'll try and find a way to get Bruno Fernandes in there.
Okay, I like it.
I think that's my priority.
That's the takeaway. All right. Yeah. Any final thoughts then, Dan, before we wrap up? It's been fascinating.
No, that was a really good chat, Tom. Yeah, keep an eye on, as you say, on the Fix YouTube channel and their Twitter account. Lots of information.
Absolutely, Dan. You're spot on. And also, guys, of course, do head over to fantasyfootballfix.com and follow the blog section for our elite managers to check out their thoughts as they marinate on this over the next couple of weeks, I guess, and see how things play out. But it's been Absolutely fascinating. Always love talking to you, Dan. You've got such a great FPL mind. I'm sure the people watching have enjoyed it as well. And if you have, guys, do please smash a like on the video on your way out. Do please subscribe to fantasyfootballfix.com. Do please subscribe to fantasyfootballfix.com's YouTube channel. And we'll see you soon, guys, for another video from the Meet the Elite series. Have a great time off, and we'll see you before Game Week 22. Take care. Bye.